it's been nearly 450 years since a remarkable 16th century Frenchman named Michel de Nostradamus, Nostradamus, wrote down some startling predictions for the next 2,000 years. How could one man see into the future? How was he able to forecast historic events and identify important leaders who had not yet been born? Thousands of years after his death, the prophecies of Nostradamus continue to amaze.
There was once a man who could not be confined to his own time, and indeed believed he traveled into the future. He has been called the king among prophets, and his followers conjure visions of Armageddon and apocalypse with the mere mention of his name, Nostradamus.
It is very important for us to study Nostradamus and try to decipher the prophecies, because in so doing, we can change our future.
Today, we are at the culmination point of where his visions are coming to their conclusion. And we're beginning to see just what kind of a visionary he truly was.
His collected verses offer proof, some say, that Nostradamus had visions of the future and saw such monumental events as the French Revolution, the space shuttle disaster, and the Gulf War with its alien weaponry centuries before they would actually come to pass. There are many who believe that his predictions of the future may well affect the lives of us all.
He who is called a prophet now was once called a seer. Strictly speaking, a prophet is one who sees things remote from the natural knowledge of men. Michel Nostradamus.
Nostradamus lived in the south of France, in the town of Salon-de-Provence. The cobbled streets here still echo with the footsteps of this true Renaissance man. Though he walked on these stones more than 4 centuries ago, it is easy to believe that Nostradamus, the seer of Provence, still watches over this crumbling village and still sees the street marked by his name, and the path that winds past the home he lived in, and upstairs once concealed his secret study.
Sitting at night in a secret study alone, reposing over the brass tripod, a slight flame coming out of the emptiness makes me pronounce prophecies that will not be believed in vain. Michel de Nostradamus, 1555.
He used the brass bell on a tripod filled with water, the bowl filled with water on a tripod, to foresee the future. This was what the Delphic oracle did, and it's exactly the same method. You just gazed into it and saw visions. But Nostradamus was slightly exceptional. He not only saw visions, he heard them as well.
He was an enigma in his own lifetime. Part wizard, part scientist. Nostradamus was a visionary poised in an age when superstition and magic ran headlong into the intellectual revolution that would be called the Renaissance.
He was very eclectic in the sense that he gathered information from a number of sources. He was into numerology, he was into the Kabbalah, he was into all different kinds of forms of divination.
Not surprisingly, few records exist that accurately describe his appearance.
The pictures that have survived of Nostradamus show him with this gray beard and the gray hair, and he had this long straight nose, but the most significant feature was his piercing eyes. At the time, they described him as having the kind of eyes that could see through people, and this was probably true because he could see to beyond time into the future, and he had a strange effect on people.
People follow Nostradamus and other prophets simply because they would like the advantage of knowing what's about to happen. Now, most of our lives are spent trying to get an advantage, trying to get some sort of a tool or weapon that we can use to conquer our environment. to beat it in some way, to get the advantage. That's the secret word. And if you know something about the future, that's an enormous advantage.
It was an advantage that Europeans would recognize and celebrate as part of the Renaissance movement.
Perhaps it is the immense eternity of the great God that has aroused the fervor of Nostradamus. Or perhaps a good or bad demon kindles it. Or perhaps his spirit is moved by nature and climbs to the heavens, beyond mortals, and from there repeats to us prodigious facts. I would not have believed him, had not heaven, which assigns good and evil to mankind, been his inspiration. Pierre de Ronsard, Renaissance poet.
It was the Renaissance that marked the period of transition from medieval to modern times. The entire view of the universe was beginning to change. Into this world would come the child named Michel de Notre Dame.
Michel de Notre Dame was born in 1503 in Saint-Rémy de Provence. Provence at that time was not part of France, but was shortly to become such. He was born of a family of notaries and lawyers, people who were rather well-to-do. His grandfather, Pierre de Notre Dame, actually had changed the name of the family from Gassonet, a Jewish name, to Notre Dame, Our Lady, which couldn't be more Catholic and couldn't be more French.
The family changed its name to avoid persecution by the Inquisition that raged through Europe for over 300 years. In Provence, the Edict of 1501 was enacted by King Louis XII, instructing all Jews to be baptized.
In Nostradamus' time, the Inquisition was very active. And this made it very difficult for most people at the time, because if they did anything that was even suggestive of what the church didn't like, they could be killed or they could have their land taken away and put into prison.
In spite of persecution, the 16th century was alive with the excitement of newly available knowledge in medicine, mathematics, philosophy, and astronomy. Young Michel de Notre Dame would find these studies intoxicating at a very early age.
It was one of his grandfathers, Jean de Saint-Rémy, who recognized a special talent within Nostradamus as a child. And he took him under his wing. He actually asked that the family allow him to come and have him live in his household. And he was probably taught in some of the ancient rites of Kabbalah, into some of the more mystical aspects of Jewish tradition.
We know he was given books of magic that he kept until he was an older man. So we think he was schooled in magic and in spells and incantations.
In addition to the rudiments of mathematics, Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, his grandfather would give him his first taste of what were called the celestial sciences.
Hebrew tradition has a rich background dealing with astrology, dealing with the stars of heaven. So his grandfather would have been one that would have led him to look up into the heavens and to witness not only the stars as they are, but the stars as they can impel human consciousness and bring about the destiny of civilization.